Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Guys, today I thought I'll come and share my abortion video with you guys when I was 19, because sometimes you cannot move forward unless you kind of like declutter and clear out, so to speak. It's like sometimes your brain is a bit like we got a lot of filing going on, and if you don't address certain things, it's like you can't move forward. I mean, that's how I've been feeling, and I've been procrastinating about sharing different stories, like for example, when I lost my child, and I thought to myself, well, I can't share that story unless I start a bit earlier in the beginning and talk about my abortion story. So here I am today, out on the road, and I'm a bit early to a meeting, so I decided I'm gonna do my share my story with you guys. I wanted to just like share it a bit later in today, but as fate would have it, I'm an hour early to my appointment, so I thought, you know what, let me just do it now. So that's a story that there's not much content to it, I don't really feel, and I've kind of like just done it at that time in my life when I was very young and a bit naive, but it was something that was very aware of with my family. You can see me a bit teary-eyed. It's not really tears, so to speak. I'll just be getting runny eyes recently. If it's tears, I'm sure you guys can detect tears from runny eyes, and I'm kind of like sitting where the sun is directly in my face. Maybe it's not the best. Yeah, so my parents was aware, and it's something that was discussed, and it just wasn't the right time, and you'll understand as I go along in the story why it might have come across to me as not the right time, and it's not something that is there because I haven't forgotten, and I don't think you'll ever forget. Let me start anyway. Basically, from what I remembered, which is not a lot, but I remember the fact that I did have an abortion, clearly. I think from what I recall, it wasn't someone that I was going out with him for like a long period of time. From what I recall, and being frank and honest, it's like it was basically a one-night stand. I can't even remember where I met that boy from. I can't remember where I met him. I can't remember the story to where I met him. I don't know if it was a party. I can't recall. What I do recall is I didn't know him long. In my memory, he's saying it's a one-night stand, basically, because I remember like meeting him, and he took me to his place in somewhere in, it was in London, in what I remember like West Norwood area. Don't quote me. Well, that's where my memory is taking me, up them sides. And I was there, and what I remember of it, we had sex, and it was so funny because I remember like distinctively, the part I remember was that after everything's finished, it wasn't very affectionate, it wasn't nothing like that, it wasn't like it was rough or anything, but it just wasn't something I remember like positiveness from, which is really bad, but I'm just being honest, guys. And I remember when everything was over with, he went and eat bread. I remember that, and I want to say cheese as well, because that's twirling up in my head, but I know it was some form of bread, and I did find that strange even to this day. It was the first time somebody like we've been intimate and like disconnect straight away. I remembered enough to remember that we did go and mention the fact when I went home, and after a period of time, obviously, I found out I was pregnant. I didn't remember going back to him, and obviously he was very still disconnected, and basically it wasn't a case of, oh, we'll stay together and have the child and we work things out. It wasn't a case of that. It was like, oh, I told him, and just like was whatever, like, it's your problem, love, bye, kind of thing. That's how I felt. So I remember having the conversation with my mom, and we ended up saying maybe it's not the right time to have the baby, and planning to go to a abortion clinic. And it was very near to where I ended up living in London when I first got my house. Very near. It's so weird. Everything always come connecting back to me for some reason. But years after, because when we went there, I lived further afield and had abortion, and I didn't feel very good about it, but I don't feel as bad about it enough to want to keep the baby, because I think if I was shouting and screaming about wanting to keep it, I don't think I understood as much. Maybe my mom would have allowed me, I don't know. But I think because the way I felt pregnant wasn't the best, I was very disconnected, and the end result was that. Yeah, I just had to share it, guys, before I move on to when I lost my baby, because that was more of where my connection, and it's really bad. It's not taken away from the fact that I had an abortion, and like, it was a part of me, because I still feel connected in that way to say, oh, that was my child. But it was very early stages, and that had happened, and to show that even that I've connected and acknowledged the occurrence, even when I put these tattoo on my neck. I don't know if you guys can see. And you see the one that's darkened over, that's the one that my present children, and the one that's open is the two children that's not present. And obviously I didn't get one for my youngest, because no particular reason. It's just when I got these, it was just like the right time, and I haven't really got back. And I'm kind of too old for tattoos now, but if you've seen, like, there's obviously one missing, which is my youngest, Angelo. So yeah, because it's 5-star there for, yeah. So I've had 6 pregnancies in my life, and I'll kind of share these bits on my channel to say I have had 6 pregnancies. That's one of the pregnancies. So just to show that I did connect in some way, to even put the star there to acknowledge it. But yeah, and for some reason, things like the fact that it probably would have been a boy, that's my thoughts into this kind of person that I had made the child, created. Well, you know what I mean, the whole sperm thing. I just feel like it would have been a boy, because the story about the guy, you just, memory of him being really strong and all about his food, because even, I shared with you guys, that's my personal thoughts on it. Whether I'm right or wrong, it's just from my memory and everything. I just think he probably would have been a boy. And yeah, it's a part of my life. I've never blamed my parents for like directing me and guiding me into that decision, in terms of like, but it was discussed, and I feel like I haven't got nothing negative to say, like, oh, they dragged me to the abortion clinic or anything like that. It wasn't like that. And I feel like if I really wanted to keep it, I would have done. And it took me forever to get pregnant again, which is going to be the other story. It took me forever to get pregnant again, to the point where I think people thought I couldn't have got pregnant, which seems a bit funny now based on obviously present times, which are where I have 4 children now. So it's just weird life, you know. And a point I wanted to make is like I wanted to share this with you guys because of the fact that there's another YouTuber that was sharing her story about what happened to her child, which I'll go more into when I share my other story. And I, always feel like I'm blocked because there's stuff that I wanted to share, and it reignites why I have my channel in the first place. That I just wanted to share my story with others and hoping that other people can learn from it, and if they're going through a situation similar, they can see that they're not alone, or it might not come across as terrifying as when I was going through it, because I don't remember having anything to use as a reference in terms of, oh, that person done that, so it's not that bad and all the rest of it, which not saying that the abortion is strange in the family, so to speak, but I think everybody had their own journey, and it wasn't a case, because my background is not a case of, you don't talk through everything or try to get through everything like how maybe perhaps I would try it with my kids now, to get out what is in their thoughts and all of these, even though it's a struggle at times. But it wasn't really like that. You kind of had your situation, you deal with it, and you kind of moved on, or some of it will probably just get swept under the carpet like it didn't happen, kind of thing. It was that case, I think. It was nothing. I don't remember ever discussing this throughout my life. I'll share it, especially with my partner. I've shared things with him from early on, and throughout my life coming up to the point, it's not something I share like or talk about it a lot, yeah. Just sitting here now, I probably shared it with my best friend and stuff, but I don't remember it's a topic that I'm eager to share and discuss. But yeah, I don't know if I've covered this correctly. That was it, really. I remember going into the abortion clinic and feeling nervous and scared, and it was a bit alien, and the process is very blurry, but bottom line, pardon, they did what they had to do, and that was it. It's hours, it's not overnight, you don't stay there overnight, to my recollections, and you in and you out, and when you go in pregnant, you come out not being pregnant, depending on if you follow through on what you're there for, kind of thing. Do I regret it? I don't know. Like, I've come to terms with that, and I just know that it's part of life. And another thing I wanted to highlight is that it's not, I don't share my story because I'm thinking, oh, it's me, and I'm alone. I know that there's so much people in this world that have been through so much, and it's far more in-depth than my stories, in so to speak, because I've had the privilege of sharing with my work colleague and some stuff that she had went through, and I'm thinking, how did they get through that, but we get through it. And as much as I share my story as well, I am not one to I don't really like going through the mill in terms of hard times, or if my situation is always, touch wood, thank God, been dealt with in a way that I'm able to cope in terms of how it's been dealt with, even though there is times when I think the situation could be dealt with a lot better in other stories I will share. But sometimes when I hear other stories, I'm like, oh wow, like, yeah, stuff like that. I just don't think sometimes people follow through and take that time sometimes to discuss things through and share that, you're not the only one or stuff, even though like in different cases they were like counseling offered and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, because we from Jamaica, we kind of like pretty much just get on really. Yeah, I will share times when I did have to have counseling, needed counseling and stuff as well. But let me just check the time that I'm not running. Yeah, I'm still quite early. Yeah, so I hope I covered enough. That was that. I remembered and I moved on, but I don't remember Solomoning on it, to be fair. Maybe when I was going through the times of feeling like, oh my gosh, can I ever get pregnant again, maybe those times I was Solomoning. But like I said, it's not a forthright part of my memory, it's just there, and I know that I had to share it before I share any other story, so to speak, in terms of my children. That's the order that they're coming. When I was 19, that's when I first ever felt pregnant, and I did have an abortion. So basically, that's it really in terms of the story. If you guys out there have any questions or anything like that, you can definitely ask. I'm really terrible at putting my links in my description in terms of like social media and stuff like that. I did some recently, and I don't know if that was a fly, or I don't know if it was a bee. Oh, it's a feather. Oh my gosh, that's a feather. I know they say something about his feather, but don't get me to go into it because I don't really know what that means. But that was a feather. Yeah, so that was it really. I feel like it's important to sometimes to try and get out and share your stories, and you know, in different way, especially if it seems like it's blocking you from something, or you know, I always like to be transparent. A friend of mine reminded me, or we were discussing that maybe sometimes, especially things that's recent, maybe I shouldn't say it straight away, because it's like it's can be a nemesis. But definitely I've always been like an open book. I try to be a little bit less open, so to speak, but always feel like I need to share my story. And the whole YouTube thing was just my thing, even though like obviously I'm sharing my life with my kids. It was just my little thing that I had to help the time go by, or to share, or to have a laugh, and you know, stuff like that, because I don't feel like we should go through life mopey and sad and just dragging, or just you know, my frivolous ways can be curved, but not to be in bandage, I don't feel. And I will I'll always be a bit defensive if I'm seeing that people want to drag me into a way to be morbid or mournful. I'm very much aware of my blessings, and you know, hopefully, touch wood, thank God, when I go through my hard times, I can remember that each too shall pass. Because when you're going through things, you're thinking there's no way out at the times period and stuff, and you know, stuff like that. I won't keep banging on. If I've missed anything, you guys are more than free to ask me any questions, and but I just really thought it was important to share this with you guys, especially in the future. Not too long ago, what am I saying? Not too far away. I will share when I lost my daughter. So yeah, because I have been putting that off, because I feel like tapping into that might start something, but the urge is there to share it. So, but I couldn't share it unless I shared this story. I didn't feel like, you know, I should be going or sharing a story about when I lost my daughter, and not saying when I had the abortion story. So this is it, guys. I hope it might help someone out there, and yeah. So go ahead, guys, and like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. And like I always say, if you can't look after you, you can't look after anyone else. Take care, guys. Have a blessed day whenever you're watching this, or whatever time, or always.